Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have another video from another channel. These are the Legends of Nerdvana. 3 people who are working their way through a 3,000 game collection, and then, if I know gamers, adding more to that collection before they finish working their way through it. So we're going to bring you a video from them. We've got several videos from them coming up in the future. Hope you enjoy them. Click on the link in the description below to go check out their YouTube channel. Here we go.
Hello, we are here today to talk about Grad Rush. This is a first-time game from a unknown publisher or designer. Unknown designer doing a publisher. So we'll give us stats. Well, before that, hit that subscribe button so you can see interesting games like this that you don't see anywhere else.
And the only way you know that is by also hitting the notification bell.
Yeah.
So it'll let you know when you put it out.
And comment. Give this guy some feedback on his first time attempts on this game.
So Grad Rush was made in 2019, designed by Tushar Kumar. I apologize if I mispronounce any of these names. So the art, got several artists here. We got Alex Smirniotis, Charmaine Lai, Alex Wallman, Sarah Ford, and Luis Gonzalez. It is a 1 versus 1, so a 2-player game. And the MSRP is available on Amazon for $30.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else is carrying it.
I didn't see anything anywhere else on it. So just Amazon.
So we spoke with Tashir, and got some information on it. And it's this was his first attempt, and it's definitely hard to compare this to other games that are more established because it's not going to have quality of components that are up to
and
the standard.
And it wouldn't be fair anyway.
Yeah, so we're going to give assessments, but it's not necessarily going to be, the scale may not be the same if you compared it to, we're taking into consideration this is a first-time publisher. Have at what you will. We're going to still talk about some of the pros and cons and things associated with all of that. So let's talk about quality of components. So first of all, I got to say, for a first-time publishing, I was actually impressed with some of the pieces.
I was.
The dice are really nice. They're all custom dice, and they have 2 sets. There's 3 that have your graduation cap on them, which represent in essence victory points in the game. They're your GPA, they call it.
Yeah, and then you got speed.
Speed, yeah, it's a little speedometer.
Yeah,
and that's how much you move in this. So I like the dice. The punch-out pieces are kind of meh. These are what you typically see.
I think it's standard cardboard.
Yeah,
it's nothing special.
Well, it's not even standard. It's the kind of you see in a standard Kickstarter, first-time Kickstarter.
But it's not awful.
Right.
It's functional.
The markers that you use for your credits, it mentioned in the rule book that these were clear, but they're not clear.
Yeah.
And I think they would have been more functional as like a see-through of some
I
kind.
agree.
Probably not totally clear, but maybe like a yellow see-through or a red see-through. Because you're going to use them on the credits to identify how many basically spend points you have on cards. So it'd be nice to be able to see the number you're on when you're marking it, but it's not essential.
Then you got card quality itself.
The cards, they're not horrible. They're not great. There's no texture to them.
But again, coming from the perspective as it's being a first-time published game, they're not bad.
No, I've seen a lot worse. In professionally made games. I would say these are
big
better,
dollar Kickstarter games.
Like Dune Imperium. To put a point, I mean, it's a huge game. The cards, these are better quality cards than Dune Imperium, which is sad.
It is, but not sad for Dune. It's sad for Dune.
Yeah, not for this.
Not for this.
I think the board is actually a nice touch because I wasn't expecting a board in a first-time release.
Yeah.
It's actually a decent board.
It's not bad at all. It looks nice.
It looks nice. Now, there are some typos. One of the blatantly obvious ones is there's it's, in essence, when you're playing the game, it's a rock, paper, scissors approach to when your cards conflict. Yes. And one of the words is supposed to be intimidate, and it's actually spelled correctly in the smaller print, but in the large, bold print you see first thing, it's spelled intimidate. So it's a pretty blatant, obvious miss. And then there were some issues in the rule book, but I didn't see anything on the cards that we ran into.
Yeah, I didn't see any problems with the card text.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about card text. That's one of the highlights of the game.
Yeah. So as far as quality, given that this is a first timer doing a first time approach to this game, and it's not like published by a major company.
Right.
It's published basically self-published, or
It is.
I don't know if they got to design it, but it's definitely self-published. I would say I'm going to give this a 6. I think it's better than what you would typically get as far as that.
I agree. I think 6, maybe even a 6.5, because even though the misspelling of the one word is really and I don't like the credit token.
Yeah.
I have to admit that's kind of a bummer.
The credit token and these, I don't like the cardboard, but the dice aren't. Maybe I think I might be with you with a 6.5.
But I don't think the cardboard's that big of a deal. So I think I'm going to go 6.5. I think that again, taking into effect that this is a self-published game, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the fact that somebody could release it. Makes me excited if I had ever tried to release one. As far as theme goes, it's a fun theme. I mean,
it is. It kind of maybe bring back some bad memories of being bullied in high school. But
I mean, it's got some neat art on the cards.
The art is really neat.
Yeah, and there's a lot of humor in some of the cards.
A lot of tongue in cheek.
Yeah, you mentioned something about even on the box.
Yeah, even on the box cover itself. You're probably not going to be able to see this, but I'm sure Randy will put a picture of it on during the video. But it's underneath the crest. The crest of the generic high school crest. It says Omnia Dicta Fortiera, I guess, Si Dicta Latina. So, assuming it's Latin, I went in to Google Translate and had to translate it because I don't know Latin. And it says everything said is stronger is said in Latin. So that's pretty funny.
I mean, just little touches like that.
Stuff like that. Just really, it's the nice touches that
my favorite was the card, the Waterboy card.
Yeah, Waterboy was hilarious.
Because he affects like all the athletes in the game and gives them more speed. But the card has him dressed up in a superhero costume
with water written
that says water in big letters on his outfit. And you almost don't even notice their letters unless you look really careful that it spells water, because it looks just like this giant shape. And
there's a little character in the back either is having a good time with his towel or it looks like he's licking on it or something. I don't know, but it's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, there's some real funny cards in this game.
It really is.
I appreciated that. As far as the art in general, I mean, the board just looks like a plain, it looks like a white sheet of paper that's got crinkled.
That lined piece of paper that you would write your notes on.
It's very basic, but it gets the job done.
It works perfectly
well. It does. Yeah. And I mean, I thematically really love this game.
I do too.
I mean, given that it's so basic, but yet it gets the point across, and the art is so really pretty, I think I'm going to give this a 9.
I agree. I think I was going to give it a 9 as well, just because it's not just pretty, but it's effective, and it does even give you those feels a little bit of, man, I remember when someone shoved me into a locker, and you got a card called Shoulder Shover, and so it may remind you of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, moving on to the rules. Now, this is where it suffers a bit.
Yeah, unfortunately.
First of all, as you all know, I hate centerfolds. And this one is a big centerfold. It's like a double. This is like a special edition centerfold. Not to mention, the worst part of it is it's a centerfold that when you're reading it, when you flip it over, the reverse side is right to left, which is counterintuitive to how you read. Which threw us for a minute because I was reading and then I wrapped to the next page and it started in the middle of a paragraph.
The future.
So I don't like the way it's laid out. But then getting past that, there's some holes in the rules we ran into. There was some on move as far as the movement goes and how when you actually get to graduate. There's some typos in here. There were some definite rule misses on, and there's no card explanations whatsoever. And I think that's where the biggest gap is.
I think so too. Yeah,
because we can get past the things in here because I think we made the correct assumptions when we were playing, but we were able to contact Tashir and get correct.
Which we appreciate that we were able to contact him, and he was gracious enough to kind of fill in those gaps for us. That was really nice.
So we were able to get a clean playthrough of it and get, make sure we were playing it correctly, and that was really helpful. But the biggest miss, I think, is just in the cards themselves. There's no cheat sheet at all in this. It's in the book. There's not even one for the actions, really. I mean,
Right.
it would be nice to have the actions in front of you, but it would be good to have something to explain the cards, especially if there's a limited, finite set of them.
Right.
When we talked to Toshiro, his original design intent was this was going to be a living card, well, a card game that is like a living card game. That's a quoted term, so we would not use that term as far as going forward with this game. But it is a card game that would be adaptable, and additional cards could be added to it. So it would be you would.
And I could see where you could do that with this game.
Yes,
I could totally see how you could expand upon that.
And in the rules, they actually spent a good time in it, going through variants where you can play it that way with the cards you have.
And a drafting mechanism.
Yeah. So I think it is adaptable to that. But as far as, I think it needed something to explain the cards and say, especially some of the ones that were less clear. I mean, I don't really like when they give you part of them, but this one is one that I might suggest that at minimum they have the ones that are confusing.
Yeah.
I would ideally have a card explanation for every card, but that could get bulky.
Because there are quite a few cards.
Yeah.
So, but, if nothing else, maybe kind of highlight some examples or more examples so that if you don't see the exact card, you can infer it by looking at some of the examples.
So as far as the rules, I think I'm going to have to give these probably, I don't know, maybe a 3.5, I think.
Yeah, and I hate to say that, but at least when we did talk to Tushar, he did admit that this is kind of a work in progress. It was his first time,
and he's updated some of it on the website.
On Board Game Geek and stuff. So that was it's good to know that he's aware of it too, and that he's trying to fix that.
Yeah. So moving on to gameplay. So this is a very simplistic game. You get a hand of cards starting at, it's always 5. You draw up to 5 every turn.
But we both have the exact same deck.
You have the same deck. It's just a matter of the shuffle that's going to differentiate. There's basically suits of cards. You have the, I forget what he calls them, and the jocks or athletes. You have
got the preps.
The preps.
The athletes and
the misfits.
Yes.
They're the 3 main ones. There's also basically the common ones, the generic students. And those get beat by any of the other suits. So it works in a rock, paper, scissors with the 3 primary suits. So the athletes will intimidate the misfits. So if they encounter each other, the athletes will beat the misfits.
Every time.
Misfits will bewilder the preps.
The preps.
And therefore beat the preps. And then the preps will outsmart the athletes.
Right.
So it runs.
So thematically it makes sense.
Yeah, and then all of them, as we mentioned, will be the generic.
Right.
But each card has a special ability. They have speeds as far as how much they move down the track, and your goal is to get through the semester. So each row on the board represents a semester.
Right, and there's 8 of them.
And then each column represents a hallway.
Right.
So once you place the card, in essence, it will march down that hallway until it reaches the end, unless another card affects it, which causes it to shift out of that lane.
And it's flunking out.
Well, no, that's
potentially
just shifting out of the lane. It's only when you encounter your opponent that.
Right, but you can either shift out or flunk out, and that's how you get it out of the hallway.
But if you manage to march all the way down to the 8th position, it's kind of like in chess, you would become promoted to a queen if you're a pawn. In this case, you graduate and you get to become victory points for your score. You play to 10 victory points and the game's over. So on your turn, you're going to get action points that start in the game with 5 action points, and it will increase based upon the number of students that your opponent graduates.
And the game is called credits.
Yeah. So when you choose your cards, you can hold back some of those points for future rounds. You don't have to use them all, so you can save them up for a future round. You play your card, and it has a cost on it at the top left that will tell you how many points it takes to play that card. And there's, in addition to the students, there's also event cards, and they have a calendar on them. And if you play the event, you can play that in between any of the different phases of the turn.
Or even your opponent's turn.
You can? Yeah. Okay. So you can play them actually between any 2 phases on a turn. And it will trigger an effect that might be able to save one of your people, because Once you put them in a lane, if you
Yeah.
didn't have those events
They're
or
kind of stuck.
have one of the students that affected them, you could end up, like if I put in an athlete and Rob was playing after me, he could put in a prep in the same lane, and they're eventually going to march until they hit each other, and I'm going to lose every time. So if you don't have those,
it happened the other way around. He annihilated me.
but I played first, so that was your own fault on that side.
So.
But if you have cards that you might change their suit, that's what the tokens are for, is to change the suits, and that can save your person.
But I didn't see a whole lot of that myself.
I have one, I think, that we got. You kept getting all the events. I didn't have the events until
I
the very
had
end.
a lot of events. And some of them were really cool.
Yeah. So the events can flunk out one of your people. So if you have somebody in your way, you play the card and they flunk out and they're gone.
Or you could do a whole row.
Yeah. There was one I had wiped out a whole column at the very end.
Yeah, whole column. So it's kind of really neat, and it really affects the game sometimes quite significantly.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a simple concept, but there's a lot of meat in the cards.
There's a lot of tactics. It's a very tactical game.
Yeah, if you are a fan of chess-type games, this might be for you. I mean, it's got some elements of that in there, which I can appreciate because we're a big fan of war chess, and I love Nightmare Chess. It's one of my favorite variants of chess. So this kind of has a chess-like feel, which I appreciate. The rock paper scissors is a little basic for me as far as the combat goes, but it works. It gets the job done.
And it is luck based, so you might have a better draw than your opponent, and that can make a big difference as well.
Yeah.
But take it for what it is. It's not. It was still fun.
Yeah. I mean, and given the fact that there are variants that you can play, it might change up that too. I mean, you could, if you're drafting and building your deck during the game, you could take some of that luck factor.
You could potentially do that, yeah. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. So as far as, the score for how much gameplay and how much fun I had, I think I'm about a 6 on this too, I think
so. I mean, I don't think the replayability is real high, so I think that would kind of lower the score a little bit for me. You play it a couple times, it's going to get samey. And so I don't think that...
I mean, it'll take away some of the fun of the cards, certainly, because you've seen them and you've got the laughs off of them.
And that's where the being able to modify with some expansions, I think, would help that.
Yeah, I agree. I think keeping it fresh and bringing more cards in is going to help. I do think it would probably have been better with more lanes. I think 3 lanes is really limiting. I think more lanes, like if you had 5 lanes, it might have been a little more flexibility, a little more... especially the shove cards, because there's some cards that let you shove to the left or shove to the right.
Right.
I think those would have more impact if there were more lanes.
Well, at least one more. So then that way, no matter where you place, you could potentially shove one direction or the other. Because I played a card mistakenly. I just wasn't thinking about it. I played a card right in the middle, and it either shoves to the... when something comes next to it, either shoves to the left or the right. Well, if they're in the left and right, you can't shove them. So the card was useless in the middle lane. So if there was an extra lane, it would mitigate that. So it would be interesting. Maybe that's not the point, though. Maybe you intentionally did that to help strategize even more.
Well, it's not
to make sure you play it that
It's
way.
Useless for its ability. It's still got the icon. And let it beat certain cards. So if you're in a situation where somebody's getting ready to score, you can still defend and beat them.
Right.
So... all in all, I think as far as a first attempt of a game,
I'm impressed.
I'm impressed. I think this was a very good first effort. I
think so too. I could see where you could just make it better. Yeah. Some additional printings. Hopefully, he is able to do that, where you can improve the rule book and maybe improve some of the components. It won't take a lot to improve that, and I think it could be a really great.
But I mean, even in the way it is, it's still a fun game.
It really is. It really is.
I wouldn't discourage someone from buying this.
No, not at all.
I think it's what $30 on Amazon. It's not horrible, and you're supporting someone this is their first time out. So
even better.
I think it's a great thing. I don't. While it's not the best first game ever, it's still a great first attempt, and I think that's amazing. So I've seen a lot worse.
Yeah. Kudos to Tushar for his first game. I think he did a great job.
Yeah. So that's our assessment of Grad Rush. So hopefully you enjoyed it and maybe give this guy some props and check it out. It is fun if you like those kind of strategy games, like 2-player one-on-one type strategy games. It's a fun light one. It's not heavy. It's quick to the table, quick to put away.
Yeah, it didn't take us long to play through it.
Yep. So, all right. Well, until next time, look forward to talking to you in the future. Hit that subscribe. Make sure you follow along. Hit the notification bell. All those things and bells and whistles you all know about every time. All right. Bye.